Hello, and welcome back to Today English Podcast. My name is Laura, and I'm here to guide you on your journey to clear, confident, and natural English. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss a lesson. Your support truly helps this channel grow. All right, take a deep breath, relax, and let's begin today's session. In this story, I want you to imagine that you and I are walking together on a quiet morning street, the kind of street where the sunlight is soft, the breeze is gentle, and the world feels slow and calm. Because this is how we begin our journey about saving money wisely, and I want you to feel relaxed and open as you listen, because saving money is not only about numbers, rules, or strict habits, but about understanding yourself, your life, your dreams, and the small decisions you make every day. And as we walk, I tell you a simple story about a person named Lena, who, like many of us, wanted to save money but never knew where to begin, and she always felt that saving needed big steps, big changes, and big sacrifices, and because of that, she felt afraid every time she tried to start, and every time she thought she was ready. Something happened in life that pushed her away from her goal, and she kept telling herself, "I will start next week," or "I will save when things get easier," or "I will save when I earn more." But somehow, the next week never arrived, and things never felt easier, and even when she earned a little more, the money seemed to disappear just as quickly. So one day, feeling tired and a little defeated, she decided to take a walk just like we are doing now, and as she walked, she asked herself a simple but powerful question. What if saving money does not begin with money? What if it begins with understanding myself? And this question stayed with her, pushing her to explore what saving really meant to her, because sometimes the first step is not action, but awareness. And so she sat on a small bench in the park and looked around at people living their lives, children running, a woman reading a book, an old man feeding pigeons, and she wondered how each of them learned to manage their life. And she realized that everyone around her had learned something with time, something through small experiences, and she understood that she could learn too, slowly, simply, and calmly. As she sat there, she remembered all the times she tried to save money suddenly, like when she tried to cut all her expenses in one day, or when she tried to stop buying things she loved, or when she told herself she must save half of her salary immediately. And she remembered how tired and stressed she felt each time, because it was too fast, too sudden, and not natural for her life. So she told herself something different. This time, I start small. I start soft. I start in a way that fits who I am. And maybe you feel the same right now. Maybe you also tried to save quickly and felt tired, or maybe you tried to follow someone else's method and it didn't work for you, and that is okay. Because now, as you listen to this story, you and Lena both get a new chance. A fresh beginning, free from pressure and full of possibility. She took a deep breath and told herself that saving money is not a race. It is a gentle journey, a slow walk, and every small step counts, even if it feels tiny, and maybe especially when it feels tiny. So she decided to start with something very simple, watching. Just watching herself, her habits, and her choices, without judgment, without stress, and without forcing herself to change anything yet. She told herself, for 1 week, I will only observe. I will notice how I use money. I will notice when I spend without thinking. I will notice what makes me feel happy, what makes me feel stressed, and what makes me feel confused. And in that moment, she felt lighter, because for the first time, saving money did not feel like a punishment or a restriction. It felt like learning, and learning is something anyone can do. She went home that day and prepared a small notebook. It wasn't a fancy notebook, not expensive, just a simple one she found in a drawer, and she wrote on the first page, My Saving Journey, Day 1. Under that, she wrote one short sentence. Today I begin. She smiled because it felt peaceful and she liked that feeling, and when she went to bed that night, she felt something new, hope. Not pressure, not fear, just hope. The next morning, she woke up earlier than usual, and she decided to start her simple watching week, and she paid attention to the small things. How many times she opened her online shopping app, how many times she bought coffee outside even though she had coffee at home, how often she bought something because she was stressed, tired, or bored, and she noticed something interesting. Much of her spending was not because she needed things, but because of her feelings, and that realization surprised her. She didn't feel bad about it, but she felt curious. Why did she buy things when she felt sad? Why did she spend money quickly when she felt stressed? Why did she buy small treats even when she didn't really want them? She understood that saving money was not only about the wallet, it was also about the heart. As she continued observing herself over the next days, she learned even more. She noticed moments when she felt proud for not spending and moments when she felt guilty after spending too much. She noticed habits she had learned from her friends, like buying fast food after work because everyone else did, or buying new clothes every month because it felt normal, not because she needed them. She noticed small decisions that added up, like choosing taxis instead of buses, or buying snacks she didn't even finish. And she realized something powerful. She didn't need to change everything to save money. She just needed to understand these small patterns, these daily habits that controlled her without her awareness. One afternoon, while she was sitting in a cafe, she had a deeper realization. She looked at the menu, thinking of what to order, and she remembered writing in her notebook the night before when she wrote, "I want to save money, not because I must, but because I want a better future." She wanted to travel one day, maybe study something new, maybe build something of her own. She had dreams, quiet dreams, dreams she never spoke about much, because she thought they were too far away. But now, saving money felt connected to those dreams, and when saving feels connected to dreams, it becomes easier, softer, and more meaningful. So that afternoon, instead of ordering the expensive drink she usually bought, she chose a simple tea. It wasn't a big change, but she felt something shift inside her, something small but strong, and she wrote in her notebook, "Today, I made a small choice. I chose my future over a moment." And she smiled again, because she realized that every small decision was like planting a seed, and one day, these seeds would grow into something wonderful. Throughout the week, she continued writing. She wrote about moments of self-control, but also moments when she spent more than she planned, and she allowed herself to write honestly, without shame, without negative words, because she knew this journey was long and gentle, and honesty was more important than perfection. At the end of the week, she sat in her room and read her notes from day 1 to day 7, and she noticed something incredible. She had learned more about herself in 1 week than she had in the last few years, because she finally paid attention. She finally listened to herself. And so, when the week ended, she said softly, "Now I am ready to take the next step," and this next step was not a huge one. It was not strict. It was not difficult. It was simple, choosing one small habit to change. Not many habits. Not big habits. Just one. And that one small change would become her first true step towards saving money wisely. Now, as our walk slowly comes to an end for today, I want you to imagine that you're holding your own simple notebook, just like Lena, and I want you to imagine writing the same sentence. Today, I begin. Because saving money wisely begins not with pressure, but with awareness, not with big steps, but with small ones, and not with fear, but with hope. And today, You and Lena have taken the same first step, the step of understanding, the step of watching, the step of beginning. After Lena finished her first week of watching her habits, she woke up on a Sunday morning feeling calm and ready in a way she had not felt in a long time, because now she understood that saving money was not a big mountain she needed to climb in one day, but a long, peaceful road she could walk slowly, one step at a time. And as she sat at her small kitchen table with a warm cup of tea, she looked at her notebook again, a notebook that had become like a friend, a quiet friend that listened to her without judgment, and she thought carefully about the next part of her journey, the part where she would choose one small habit to change, and she wanted to choose something simple, something she could do every day without stress, something that would help her feel proud and motivated, not tired or overwhelmed. She turned the pages slowly, reading her notes from the week, reading about the moments she spent money without thinking, the moments she bought things because she felt stressed, the moments she made small choices without noticing, and as she read, one thing appeared again and again: coffee. Every morning, she stopped by a cafe on her way to work and bought a large cup of coffee, even though she had coffee at home, and even though she told herself many times that she would stop doing this. Somehow the habit continued, because it felt comfortable, familiar, and easy. She looked at the number she wrote in her notebook. One coffee every day cost her a small amount, but when she added it for a week, it was a bigger amount, and when she added it for a whole month, it was even bigger, and when she imagined it for a whole year, she felt surprised. It was enough money for a short trip, or a new class, or even a small emergency fund. She knew she didn't need to stop completely, but she also knew this habit was the perfect place to begin, the perfect first change, and so she wrote in her notebook, "My small change for this month, home coffee on weekdays." She underlined the sentence and took a deep breath. It felt simple. It felt realistic. It felt gentle. It felt right. On Monday morning, she woke up earlier to make her own coffee. She opened her window to the cool morning air and let the fresh breeze wake her up slowly. She took her time preparing the coffee, smelling the warm aroma fill her kitchen, and as she poured it into a simple cup, she felt proud, not because she made coffee at home, but because she made a decision that honored her future. When she left her house and walked past the cafe she usually visited, she felt a small temptation to go inside, because habits are comfortable and her mind remembered the old routine, but she smiled softly and continued walking, holding her warm cup in her hand, and this small win filled her with quiet strength. During her lunch break, she wrote in her notebook again, "Day 1. I did it. It was easier than I thought." But later in the week, she had a more difficult morning. She woke up late, felt tired, and rushed to get ready for work. She didn't have time to make her coffee, and as she walked past the cafe, she felt the old familiar need, a need not only for coffee, but for comfort, for something to make the stressful morning feel a little easier. She stood in front of the cafe door, thinking deeply, and she asked herself a simple question: if I buy coffee today, does it mean I failed? And immediately, she answered herself, no. It only means I am human. She decided to buy the coffee, but she also decided to write about it, not as a mistake, but as a moment of learning. That evening, she wrote, "Day 3. I bought coffee outside today. It was a hard morning, but I am still on my journey. One choice does not break my goal." And writing that made her feel peaceful again, because she understood something important. Saving money is not about perfection, it is about direction, and as long as she kept moving forward, she was growing. And so, she continued. Some days she made coffee at home. Some days she didn't. But by the end of the week, she realized she had still saved money, even if she wasn't perfect, and that small result made her feel stronger. As the days went on, she noticed something interesting happening inside her mind. Every time she chose to make coffee at home, she felt a small spark of motivation, a spark that whispered, "You can do this," and that spark made her curious about other small changes she could make in the future. But she remembered the promise she made to herself, to start with only one change at a time, so she didn't rush. She stayed steady. She stayed simple. She stayed patient. One afternoon, she visited her friend Sarah. They sat in a small living room, talking about life, work, plans, and challenges. At some point, Sarah said she wanted to save money too, but she felt it was impossible because everything was expensive and her salary was small. Lena smiled and shared her own story, the week of watching, the small notebook, the home coffee habit. At first, Sarah laughed and said, "How can something so small make a difference?" But Lena opened her notebook and showed her the numbers, small numbers that grew into bigger numbers. And suddenly, Sarah understood. "Maybe," she said softly, "maybe it really is about the small things." That evening, Lena walked home feeling warm inside, not because she convinced her friend, but because she realized something deeper. When you take small steps, other people notice, and sometimes they begin their own journey too. Saving money wisely is not only a personal change, it can inspire others in gentle ways. On Friday night, Lena sat by her window with the city lights glowing softly outside. She opened her notebook to write about her first full week of her small change. She wrote about the challenges, the temptations, the victories, and the moments when she almost gave up. She wrote about how she felt calmer now, more aware, more connected to her goals. And then she wrote something new. "Saving money is teaching me about myself. It's not about money. It's about choices. It's about patience. It's about love for my future self." Writing that sentence made her eyes fill with quiet emotion because she realized she was changing on the inside, not just on the outside. She was becoming a person who cared for her future, a person who understood discipline without fear, a person who believed in small beginnings. As she closed her notebook, she felt ready for the next part of her journey, not bigger changes, but deeper understanding, because every habit she changed would teach her something new. And just like that, she was ready to discover the power of planning, a tool that would help her not only save money, but shape her life with intention. And now, as the week ends and the night becomes quiet, I want you to imagine yourself doing the same, choosing one small habit, one simple change, something soft and manageable. Maybe it is making coffee at home. Maybe it is bringing lunch from home once a week. Maybe it is using the bus instead of a taxi 1 or 2 days. Whatever it is, choose something gentle, something realistic, something that makes you feel proud, not pressured. Because you and Lena are walking the same road, a slow, peaceful journey towards saving money wisely, and every small change is a little light shining on your future path. After completing her first small habit change with coffee, Lena felt stronger, calmer, and more ready for the next part of her journey, and this next part was something she always avoided before, something she thought was too difficult or too boring. But now she felt prepared to face it, because she had already learned that saving money begins with small steps, not with harsh rules, and that change is easier when the heart is gentle. The next step was simple to describe but powerful in practice, understanding where her money actually went every month. She knew that looking at her expenses might feel uncomfortable at first, because it meant seeing her habits clearly, without hiding, without excuses, without confusion. But she also knew that understanding is the foundation of wisdom. And wisdom is the foundation of real financial change. So one quiet morning, she sat at her kitchen table again with her notebook and a pen, and she opened her banking app to look at her spending history. something she had not done for a long time. At first, she felt nervous, like opening a door to a room she never cleaned, but she reminded herself that she was not doing this to judge herself. She was doing it to learn. As she scrolled through her transactions, she saw familiar things: coffee purchases, small snacks, bus tickets, restaurant bills, online shopping, small gifts, occasional taxi rides, and many little things that she bought without thinking. She wrote them down in her notebook, not with negative feelings, but with curiosity, like a scientist observing something interesting. She divided her spending into a few simple groups: food, transportation, personal treats, home items, and extras she couldn't easily explain. She didn't use complicated charts or strict budgeting rules. She simply wrote them down in her soft handwriting, line by line, slowly and honestly. And the more she wrote, the more she realized something surprising. Her money wasn't disappearing because of one big problem. It was disappearing because of many small habits. Tiny habits. Everyday habits. Habits that felt harmless, but added up quietly in the background. As she continued writing, she noticed another pattern. Her mood was connected to her spending. On days when she felt stressed, she spent more. On days when she felt lonely, she bought small things to make herself feel better. On days when she felt tired, she chose convenience instead of planning. And this realization opened a new understanding inside her. Saving money is not just managing money, it is managing emotions. She wrote in her notebook, "My spending follows my feelings," and just writing that made her feel wiser, like she discovered a hidden part of herself. But then she noticed something else, something deeper. She was very generous with others. She often bought gifts for friends, paid for shared meals, and helped people when they needed support, and she didn't regret these things, because kindness was part of who she was. But she realized she needed balance. A way to be generous without hurting herself financially, a way to help others while still building her own future. She didn't want to stop giving, but she wanted to give in a way that felt healthy and sustainable, and that thought gave her another soft idea. Maybe saving money also means respecting yourself. As she continued reviewing her monthly spending, she came across a category she never noticed before: small subscriptions she forgot she had. A music app she didn't use anymore. A fitness app she opened only once. A movie streaming service she subscribed to because of one show but never canceled. These small, silent payments surprised her because they were invisible expenses, tiny drains she never felt but always paid. She circled them in her notebook and whispered, "I didn't even know I was spending this," and she smiled, not with frustration, but with relief, because now she could change this easily. She canceled the subscriptions she didn't need, and she wrote in her notebook, "Small leaks can sink a big ship." She liked that sentence. It made her feel strong and aware. That evening, as she sat quietly in her room, she looked at her list of expenses again, but now she felt something different: clarity. She understood where her money was going. She understood her habits. She understood her emotional triggers. And she understood her strengths, too. She noticed she was very good at buying only what she needed for her home. She noticed she didn't spend on expensive clothes or big items. She noticed she was thoughtful, even if she made small mistakes here and there. And this reflection filled her with confidence, because she realized she wasn't bad with money like she sometimes told herself. She just needed awareness, and now she had it. The next day, she created a very simple plan, not a strict budget or a complicated chart, but a soft, flexible guide she could follow easily. She wrote 3 simple lines in her notebook: food limit for the month, enough for healthy meals. Transportation limit, choose buses more. Treats limit, 2 treats a week. That was all she wrote, 3 small sentences. Not rules. Not pressure. Just gentle guidance. She didn't want to control every detail of her spending. She only wanted to give herself direction, a calm path to follow. As the week continued, she noticed something wonderful happening inside her daily life. She began thinking before spending. Not in a stressful way, not in a fearful way, but in a mindful way. When she wanted to buy something, she paused and asked herself, "Do I need this, or do I feel something?" And this simple pause changed everything. She didn't always say no, but she said yes only when it felt right. She learned to enjoy spending money when it had meaning, and to skip spending when it was just a reaction. And slowly, peacefully, she began to feel in control, not strict control, but gentle control, the kind that feels like calm hands holding your future. One afternoon, she went to the supermarket after work. Usually, she bought extra snacks, random items, and small treats she didn't plan for. But this time, she walked with her simple plan in mind, and she felt surprisingly calm. She bought only what she needed for her meals that week. She chose simple ingredients. She skipped the things she usually bought just because they looked nice. And when she walked out of the store, she felt lighter, almost proud, not because she saved money, but because she was learning how to live with intention, one small decision at a time. Over the next days, she continued writing in her notebook, writing about what she learned, writing about how she felt, writing about how her understanding grew. And one evening, she wrote a sentence that stayed in her heart. "When I understand my money, I understand myself." That sentence made her pause because it felt important, like a door opening to a new part of her life. And now, as Lena grows through this gentle learning process, I want you to imagine yourself doing the same. Imagine sitting with your own notebook, looking at your spending without fear, without stress, without judgment, simply with curiosity. Imagine noticing your habits, your emotions, your small decisions. Imagine understanding where your money goes every month. Because when you understand your spending, you can change your life, slowly, calmly, wisely, just like Lena. And with this understanding, you and Lena are ready for the next step, the step where planning becomes hope, and hope becomes action. As Lena entered the next phase of her journey, she felt something new growing inside her, a quiet confidence, a gentle belief that maybe, for the first time in her life, she was truly in control of her decisions. And this feeling came not from earning more money, not from strict discipline, and not from sudden change, but from awareness, small habits, and understanding herself more deeply. And it was on a calm Saturday morning, when the sunlight was slipping through her curtains like soft gold, that she decided it was time to create a simple plan for her future, not a complicated plan with numbers and heavy rules, but a soft plan, a flexible plan, a plan that felt like a friend guiding her instead of a parent telling her what to do. And she sat down at her small wooden desk, opened her notebook, and wrote at the top of a fresh page, "My gentle plan." She looked at those words for a moment and let them settle in her heart, because she knew this was not only a financial step, but an emotional one too. She wanted a plan that helped her grow without pressure, a plan that guided her without fear, a plan that made her feel hopeful about tomorrow. Her first thought was simple: what do I really want? She asked herself this question slowly, as if giving the words space to breathe, because she realized that saving money only becomes meaningful when it is connected to something personal, something real, something warm, something that lights the future with purpose. She closed her eyes and imagined her dreams. She imagined traveling to a place she always wanted to see, standing under a sky she had never seen before. She imagined taking a course she always dreamed of studying, something that would help her grow in her career. She imagined having a small safety cushion so she didn't feel afraid every time something unexpected happened in life. These simple dreams became clearer with each breath, and when she opened her eyes again, she wrote them gently in her notebook. 1. Travel one day. 2. Learn something new. 3. Build an emergency fund. She looked at the list and felt a soft warmth inside her chest because these dreams were hers, not something she borrowed from other people, not something she pretended to want, but something real. Next, she needed to decide how to save for these goals, but she remembered the promise she made to herself. Everything must stay gentle and simple. So she didn't draw complicated boxes or strict charts. She simply wrote 3 soft lines under her goals. Travel fund, small amount each month. Learning fund, small amount each month. Emergency fund, any extra money goes here. And she smiled because the plan looked friendly, not frightening. It looked simple enough for her to follow even on difficult days. She didn't choose big amounts that would make her feel stressed. She chose small amounts that fit her life. She told herself, I can always grow the amount later. But right now, small steps are enough. And this thought made her feel peaceful. She looked around her room and noticed something interesting. When you create a plan for your future, even your present feels different. The room felt quieter, softer, safer. It was as if making a plan gave her life a new shape. She took one more deep breath and asked herself another question. What is one thing I can do today that my future self will thank me for? This question felt powerful. Not heavy. Not stressful. Just full of possibility. She thought for a moment, then decided she would start her emergency fund today, even if it was only a tiny amount. She opened her bank app, created a new savings pocket, and named it My Future. Then she moved a small amount of money into it, so small that she might not have noticed it before. But the moment she pressed the confirm button, she felt a soft wave of pride wash over her. It wasn't the amount that mattered. It was the meaning. That evening, she took a walk around her neighborhood, thinking about her new plan. The air was cool, and the street was quiet, and she felt like life was giving her a fresh start. She thought about how many years she spent feeling confused about money, how many times she told herself she would start someday, how many moments she felt discouraged because she thought she needed big changes. And now she realized something important. Change doesn't begin with money. It begins with understanding. And planning doesn't begin with numbers. It begins with dreams. She stopped for a moment, looked up at the dark sky, and smiled because she finally understood that saving money was not a punishment, but a gift she was giving to herself. In the days that followed, she began practicing her simple plan with calmness. Each week, she added a small amount to her travel fund. She added a small amount to her learning fund. And every time she had a little extra, she put it into her emergency fund. Some weeks she saved more, some weeks she saved less, but she never felt guilty or stressed because her plan was flexible, and she treated herself with kindness. She knew life changes, moods change, situations change, but as long as she stayed connected to her goals, she was moving in the right direction. And she wrote every step in her notebook, slowly building a story of growth. One morning, she received an unexpected call from her workplace telling her she needed to travel across the city for a sudden meeting. Normally, she would have taken a taxi without thinking, spending money out of urgency. But this time she paused. She thought about her plan. She checked the time. She realized she could take the train instead. It was cheaper, simple, and calm. And so she did. As she sat on the train, watching the city pass by through the window, she felt something powerful. She wasn't just saving money. She was changing the way she made decisions. She wasn't acting out of stress anymore. She was acting with intention. And this intention made her feel stronger. Another day, she went shopping for groceries and noticed a discount on something she usually bought. Instead of buying extra just because of the discount, she smiled and walked away, reminding herself that saving money is not about buying cheap things. It's about buying what you actually need. She realized how much her thinking had changed, and she felt grateful for her simple plan. One night, as she wrote in her notebook before going to bed, she wrote a sentence she had never said before in her life: "I can trust myself with money." And after she wrote it, she placed her hand gently on the page as if holding the words in place, letting them sink slowly into her heart. She knew she wasn't perfect. She knew she still had many things to learn. But she trusted her direction, her progress, her gentle steps. And now, as you listen to this story, I want you to imagine yourself doing the same, creating a simple, soft plan for your future, not a strict plan, not a complicated plan, but a gentle plan that guides you with kindness. Think about what you truly want. Think about what your future self needs. Think about small steps, not big pressures. Because saving money wisely is not about controlling your life. It is about caring for your life, caring for your dreams, caring for the person you are becoming. You and Lena are now ready for the next part of the journey, the part where patience becomes power and time becomes your partner in saving wisely. As the weeks passed, Lena began to understand something very important, something she never realized before, something that quietly changed the way she saw her life. Saving money is not fast, and it is not loud, and it is not dramatic. It is slow, gentle, steady, like watching a small plant grow little by little every day, and at first, the growth is so small that you barely notice it, but when you give it time, you suddenly look back and see how much it has grown, and this slow, soft movement became a new lesson for her, a lesson in patience. She used to think that saving money meant big results quickly, big changes suddenly, big transformations in a short time. But now she realized that real change comes from quiet discipline, from small choices repeated over days, weeks, and months. And she started to trust this slow rhythm. One evening, as she sat by her window listening to the soft sounds of the city outside, she checked her savings pockets in her bank app, and even though the amounts were still small, they were real, and they were hers, and she felt a warm sense of pride rise inside her. She whispered to herself, "It's working," even though she knew she had a long way to go. But this whisper was not about numbers, it was about belief. She remembered a time in her life when she tried to change everything at once, when she made long lists of rules, strict goals, tough expectations, and she remembered how quickly she felt tired, how quickly she fell back into old habits, how quickly she lost motivation. But now every choice felt softer, easier, more natural. She looked at her notebook, which was slowly filling with gentle steps and reflections, and she felt grateful for the slow pace. She learned to wait, not with frustration, but with calmness, because she understood that patience builds strength. And patience also builds trust, trust in herself, trust in the process, trust in the future she was slowly creating. One day at work, Lena had a very stressful morning. Her computer crashed, her tasks piled up, and people were calling her name from every direction. In the past, on days like this, she would buy something small, maybe a sweet drink, maybe a piece of cake, maybe some online shopping at lunch, just to feel better for a moment. But this time, something different happened. She felt the old urge rise inside her like a small wave, but instead of reacting quickly, she paused. She took a slow breath. She remembered her notebook. She remembered her gentle plan. And she asked herself a question that had become familiar. What do I really need right now? Not what she wanted, not what her emotions demanded, but what she truly needed. And she realized she needed rest. She needed a moment of quiet, not a moment of spending. So instead of buying something, she went outside and walked around the block slowly, breathing in the cool air, letting her mind settle. And when she returned to her office, she felt calmer, stronger, and she felt proud, not because she saved money, but because she chose herself. As the days continued, Lena learned even more about patience. She learned that some days would be easy and some days would be hard, and she accepted both. She learned that some weeks she would save more money, and some weeks she would save less, and she accepted that too. She learned that progress is not a straight line, and every step, even a small one, even a messy one, still moves her forward. And the more she learned these things, the more she trusted the slow journey. She no longer checked her savings every day with impatience. She checked them with curiosity, with calmness, with understanding. She smiled even when the change was small, because she knew small things grow. One quiet night, she met with her friend Sarah again, the same friend she talked to weeks earlier. They sat at a small cafe, the air warm and peaceful, the lights soft above their heads. Sarah told her she started her own saving journey too, with one tiny habit change, making her lunch at home on Wednesdays instead of buying it. "It's not much," Sarah said shyly. But Lena smiled and shook her head gently, saying, "Small is exactly right." They talked for hours about their small steps, their small victories, their small struggles, and Lena realized how comforting it felt to share this gentle journey with someone else. She felt grateful that her own slow transformation inspired her friend. She felt grateful that these small steps created connection, not pressure. And she told Sarah something she had recently written in her notebook: patience is the quiet teacher of progress. A few days later, Lena received her monthly salary. In the past, she would feel excited for a moment and then watch her money disappear quickly through small, unplanned choices. But this time, she followed her soft plan. She put a small amount into her travel fund. She put a small amount into her learning fund. She put a small amount into her emergency fund. And when she finished, she felt calm, not anxious, because she trusted that consistent steps, even small ones, would bring her closer to her dreams. She didn't rush. She didn't push herself. She just kept walking her quiet path. One evening, she wrote something in her notebook that felt like a gentle truth: patience is saving in slow motion. She looked at the sentence for a long time, letting it sink into her heart. She understood that the slow journey was not a sign of weakness or lack of progress. It was a sign of care, a sign of stability, a sign of deep growth. She realized that saving money wisely is not a sprint. It is a long walk, a peaceful walk, a walk where you learn who you are and who you want to become. As she closed her notebook and prepared for bed, she felt a sense of peace she had never felt before. Not because she had a lot of money she didn't. Not because she had reached her goals she hadn't. But because she trusted her journey. She trusted the slow steps. She trusted herself. And this trust was a powerful, warm, quiet light inside her chest. Now, as you listen to this part of the story, I want you to imagine yourself learning patience the same way. Imagine trusting your small steps. Imagine believing that slow progress is still progress. Imagine feeling proud of your gentle rhythm, even when the numbers grow slowly. Because patience is a part of saving, not a problem. Patience is your partner. Patience is the calm voice saying, "Keep going. You are doing well." And with this patience, you and Lena move closer to the life you are building, one careful choice at a time. As Lena continued her gentle journey with money, something unexpected began to happen in her life, something quiet, something natural, something she never planned for but slowly started to feel deep inside her days. Saving money was no longer just about money. It started to open a new feeling in her heart, a feeling she didn't have a name for at first, but later she understood it clearly: the joy of simple living. It happened slowly, like the way morning light enters a room little by little, silently touching everything. One morning, she was getting dressed for work, looking through her clothes, and she realized she didn't need anything new. She already had what she loved. She already had clothes that made her feel comfortable, clothes that made her feel like herself. She didn't need more. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel the usual desire to buy something just because it was new or because other people were doing it. She felt free from that pressure, free from that noise. It felt peaceful. She chose a simple outfit she liked and smiled at her reflection, soft and honest. Later that week, she was cleaning her small apartment, moving items around, dusting shelves, and she noticed how many things she had bought in the past that she didn't use anymore. Little decorations, small gadgets, random items she bought because they were on sale or because she thought they might make her life happier. She touched each item gently, remembering the moment she bought it, and she realized something important. Happiness didn't come from those things. Happiness came from moments, from calmness, from connection, from making choices that felt true. And she whispered to herself, "I don't need so much." She didn't throw everything away. She didn't make dramatic changes. She simply cleaned, organized, and kept only the things that brought her joy or peace. Her home began to feel lighter, more open, and she felt lighter too. Another day, she decided to take a walk after dinner, a simple walk without any purpose except to breathe and enjoy the cool evening air. As she walked through the quiet streets, she noticed things she hadn't seen before: flowers growing between cracks in the pavement, the warm glow of windows as families prepared dinner, the sound of a child laughing somewhere in the distance. These small details brought her a feeling she hadn't experienced in a long time: contentment. She wasn't thinking about money during this walk, but somehow, saving money had created space in her life to see these simple, beautiful things. She felt present. She felt calm. She felt connected to the world around her. One afternoon, she met her friend Sarah again. They sat in a park under a large tree, eating simple homemade lunches they had prepared. As they talked, Sarah said something that made Lena pause. She said, "You seem different these days. Calm. Peaceful. Like you're breathing more easily." And Lena smiled because she realized her friend was right. Saving money had changed her in ways she never expected. It made her slower in the best way, softer, more intentional. She told Sarah, "I think I'm learning to enjoy the simple things." Sarah nodded and said she felt the same way. They laughed about how they once believed happiness required big things, big trips, big purchases, big adventures, but now they found joy in small, ordinary moments. They sat quietly for a while, just feeling the breeze move through the leaves above them, and it felt enough. As the days continued, Lena became more aware of how simplicity created happiness. She cooked simple meals at home and enjoyed the feeling of preparing food with her hands. She made warm tea in the morning and drank it slowly instead of rushing through her routine. She cleaned her space more often, not out of obligation, but because a clean space made her mind feel peaceful. She spent time reading instead of shopping online. She listened to soft music instead of scrolling endlessly on her phone. Everything in her life felt slower, quieter, softer, like a peaceful melody instead of chaotic noise. One evening, she sat on her small couch with her notebook open on her lap. She turned to a fresh page and wrote at the top, "Simple Living Notes." Underneath, she wrote gently, "I enjoy more when I need less." She stopped for a moment, letting the words settle, because they felt true in a warm, deep way. She continued writing about how her life had changed, how she no longer felt the pressure to buy new things, how she enjoyed the time she spent with herself, how saving money felt easier now because she understood what actually mattered to her. She realized that simple living connected directly to saving money, not through sacrifice, but through awareness. She wasn't restricting herself, she was freeing herself from unnecessary things. A few days later, as she walked through a shopping mall with some coworkers, she passed by a store that used to attract her every time. She would walk in, look around, pick up something cute, something shiny, something that made her feel excited for a moment. But this time, she walked past the store without feeling pulled inside. She didn't feel the familiar excitement or the familiar urge to buy something. Instead, she felt calm, as if that world no longer touched her in the same way. One of her coworkers asked, "Are you going in?" Lena smiled and said, "No, I'm okay," and she meant it. She felt proud of that moment, not because she resisted something, but because she didn't need it. She didn't even feel tempted. Her life felt full without more things. Another evening, she sat on her balcony with a cup of warm tea, watching the sunset paint the sky in soft colors, pink, orange, gold. The world felt still for a moment, and she thought about how her life used to feel rushed, crowded, noisy. She thought about how she used to feel pressure to do more, buy more, achieve more quickly. But now, life felt different. She found joy in quiet moments. She found joy in routines that once felt boring. She found joy in saving slowly. And she whispered to herself, "Simple is beautiful." As she continued to learn this new way of living, she discovered something even more surprising. The less she desired, the more she appreciated what she had. She felt grateful for small things: a warm home, a clean space, a friendly conversation, a peaceful walk. Gratitude grew inside her naturally, without force, without effort. And gratitude made saving money feel easier because she no longer chased things that didn't bring her true happiness. And now, as you listen to this part of the story, I want you to imagine yourself discovering the same joy, joy not from buying, but from being, joy not from more things, but from more meaning, joy not from speed, but from softness. Imagine your own life becoming lighter as you choose simplicity, as you choose calmness, as you choose to care for your future with gentle steps. Because simple living is not about having less, it is about seeing more, feeling more, appreciating more. It is about creating space for peace, clarity, and freedom. And as Lena continues this peaceful journey, she becomes ready for the next step, the step where confidence grows, where saving becomes natural, and where life begins to open with new possibilities. As the months passed, Lena began to feel a new strength growing inside her, a strength she never expected to find through something as simple as saving money. It was not the strength of big accomplishments or dramatic changes. It was the strength of quiet consistency, the strength that grows slowly when you keep showing up for yourself, day after day, with honesty and patience. It was like building a small bridge, not in one moment, not in one big action, but through many careful steps. And one morning, as she sat at her kitchen table with her notebook open in front of her, she realized something powerful. She trusted herself now. Not perfectly, not fully, not completely, but more than before. She trusted herself to make small, smart decisions. She trusted herself to pause before spending. She trusted herself to care about her future. And this trust made her feel more confident than she had felt in a long time. It happened slowly, in little moments. One day, she received an invitation to go out for dinner with her coworkers at a restaurant that was slightly more expensive than she could comfortably afford that month. In the past, she would have said yes immediately, afraid of missing out, afraid of looking strange if she said no. But now she took a quiet breath and said gently, I'll come next time. I'm saving this month." And instead of feeling embarrassed, she felt proud. Her coworkers nodded in understanding. No one judged her. No one made her feel strange. And she realized how often we create fears in our minds that are not real. That evening, she made a simple meal at home, something warm and comforting, and she ate it peacefully, smiling at how strong she felt. Another day, she faced a different kind of test. She was walking home after work when she passed a new shop with big bright signs showing discounts and beautiful items displayed in the window. A part of her felt the old excitement, the old desire to go inside and explore everything. But instead of walking toward the store automatically, she paused. She placed her hand over her bag, took a deep breath, and asked herself softly, "Will this help my future?" And in that moment, the excitement faded, replaced by something calmer, clarity. She realized the things inside the store were pretty, but they were not necessary, not meaningful, not connected to her goals. So she kept walking slowly, peacefully. And as she walked away, she felt her confidence rise like warm sunlight inside her chest. One weekend, she decided to review her savings progress. She sat at her desk, opened her bank app, and checked each of her small funds. The numbers were not huge, but they were real. They were growing. They were hers. And she felt a deep sense of quiet joy. She whispered, "I did this," not loudly, not proudly in a dramatic way, but gently, with gratitude. She looked back at her notebook and the first words she wrote months ago, "Today I begin." And she smiled because she had truly begun and she had stayed. She didn't give up like before. She didn't run away from her goals. She stayed with them, step by small step, and that consistency made her feel strong. The next day, she met Sarah again at their favorite park. They sat under the same tree, sharing stories about their weeks. Sarah told her about a challenge she faced. Her friends invited her to a movie, and she wanted to say yes, but she also wanted to follow her saving plan. She said she felt nervous to tell them the truth. But when she finally said, "I'm trying to save right now," her friends understood completely. They even suggested watching a movie at home the next time, with homemade popcorn. Lena smiled and said, "See? When you are honest, people support you more than you think." Sarah laughed softly and nodded. They both realized that telling the truth about your goals not only helps you save money, but also brings you closer to the people who truly care. As the weeks went on, Lena noticed something interesting. Every time she followed her plan, even in a small way, her confidence grew. When she made coffee at home, she felt strong. When she chose to walk instead of taking a taxi, she felt responsible. When she cooked instead of ordering takeout, she felt capable. When she checked her savings and saw growth, she felt hopeful. And these small moments of confidence started to blend together, creating a new version of herself, someone steady, someone calm, someone intentional. One evening, she came home after a long day, feeling tired and a little discouraged because work had been difficult. She sat on her couch and felt her old habits calling her back, the desire to buy something online to feel better, to order expensive food instead of cooking. But instead of reacting quickly, she opened her notebook. She flipped to the page where she had written her dreams: travel, learning, safety. She read the words slowly, letting them settle into her mind, reminding her why she started this journey. And suddenly, she felt grounded again. She stood up, put on soft music, cooked a simple meal, and made warm tea. She gave herself a peaceful evening instead of an impulsive one. And this choice, this simple choice on a tired night, made her confidence grow even more, because she learned that consistency is not about being strong all the time. It's about returning to your path even when you feel weak. Another moment of confidence came when she had to buy a gift for a birthday celebration. In the past, she would choose something expensive because she wanted to impress the person or show them she cared. But now she knew love was not measured by price. She walked through a small local shop and found something simple, something meaningful, something she knew the person would appreciate. It wasn't expensive, but it was thoughtful. When she gave the gift, the person smiled warmly and said, "This is perfect." And Lena felt something shift inside her. She realized that simple choices filled with intention are more powerful than big choices filled with pressure. As time continued, Lena also learned to celebrate her progress. She learned to say "good job" to herself. She learned to smile at her own discipline. She learned to be proud of her small victories. And this self-appreciation made her stronger. She understood that confidence is built not in big moments, but in everyday consistency, choosing her future again and again, even when no one is watching. And now, as you listen to this story, I want you to imagine your own confidence growing the same way. Not through perfect days, not through fast change, but through small steps, small decisions, small victories. Imagine yourself choosing your future, one gentle choice at a time. Imagine yourself trusting your own journey, trusting your own progress. Because confidence does not come from money, it comes from understanding, from intention, from consistency. And with this growing confidence, Lena is ready for the next part of her journey, the part where her savings begin to shape her opportunities and her choices begin to shape her future. As Lena's confidence continued to grow, her world began to feel different, not because her city changed, not because her job changed, and not because something big happened suddenly, but because she changed. When a person changes inside, the world around them begins to look new, brighter, clearer, like a window that was foggy before but now becomes transparent. And one morning, as Lena walked to work with her usual calm steps, she noticed something she had never truly seen before: opportunities. They were small, simple, quiet opportunities, nothing dramatic, nothing loud, but they were there, waiting for her to notice them. She realized that as she saved money slowly and consistently, her mind became more open, her thoughts became clearer, and she began to see choices she never saw before. The first opportunity appeared when she was scrolling through her phone one evening. She saw a short announcement for an online English course she had wanted to take for over a year. In the past, she hesitated because she felt guilty spending money on herself. But now she remembered her small learning fund. She opened it slowly, checked the amount, and felt a warm smile grow across her face. She had enough. She didn't need to feel guilty or afraid or uncertain. She had saved for this exact reason: to learn, to grow, to invest in herself. And with calm confidence, she clicked the Enroll button. It was a simple action, but it felt like a quiet celebration of her own growth. She whispered, "I'm doing this for me," and felt proud. Another opportunity came at work. Her company opened a small internal training program for employees who wanted to learn new skills. In the past, Lena would have ignored it, worrying that she might not be good enough or that she wouldn't have time. But now, her mindset was different. Saving money had taught her discipline, patience, and the value of slow progress. So she applied without overthinking. She wrote a simple, honest message explaining why she wanted to learn, and a week later, she received an email saying she had been accepted. When she read the message, she felt a soft warmth move through her chest. She realized that saving money wisely didn't just protect her future, it strengthened her mind, her decisions, her confidence. She was becoming a person who moved toward opportunities instead of avoiding them. As she continued her days, Lena began to see opportunities in unexpected places. One weekend, she visited a local library for the first time in many years. She had passed by it hundreds of times without entering. But now she walked inside and felt quietly amazed by how peaceful it felt. Rows of books, comfortable chairs, the soft sound of turning pages. A whole world of learning waiting for her, free and open. She borrowed a book about personal growth, something simple and inspiring. That night, she read the first chapter slowly, enjoying every sentence. She felt grateful that she didn't need to buy new books to learn. The library was a gentle opportunity she had never noticed before. Another opportunity came when she realized she could walk more often instead of using public transport. It wasn't just about saving money, it was about creating healthier habits. As she walked through her neighborhood, she discovered new cafes, quiet parks, small shops selling handmade items, and corners of the city she had never explored. She felt more connected to her environment, more aware of her surroundings, more alive in her everyday moments. The world felt bigger, not because it changed, but because she was paying more attention. One day at work, her manager asked her if she'd like to assist in a small project involving organization and planning. It wasn't a promotion, it wasn't a huge responsibility, but it was an opportunity to grow and show her abilities. In the past, she might have said, "I'm not sure," afraid of making mistakes. But now she felt steady inside. She smiled and said, "Yes, I would like to try." Her manager nodded approvingly. Over the next few days, she worked on the project with care and attention, and her manager later thanked her, saying, "You did well." Those words stayed with her, warm and encouraging. She realized that opportunities often come quietly, dressed in small moments of trust, effort, and learning. During one peaceful evening, she took out her notebook again, the same notebook that had become a soft map of her journey. She turned to a clean page and wrote at the top, "Opportunities one see now." She listed the small things she had recently embraced: the English course, the training program at work, the library, the walks, the project, the time she invested in herself. As she looked at the list, she felt amazed by how different her life looked now. Not because she had more money, but because she had more clarity. Saving money didn't limit her life, it expanded it. It helped her see possibilities she couldn't see before because her mind was too busy, her life too rushed, her heart too distracted. Another evening, she talked with Sarah again. They were sitting on the same bench in the park, watching children play and families walk by. Sarah shared how she had also started noticing new opportunities since becoming more mindful with her money. She said she started learning a new hobby, painting, because she finally had time and mental space for it. Lena smiled warmly. They talked about how saving, simplifying, and slowing down opened quiet doors inside their lives, doors they didn't even know were there. They felt proud of their progress, proud of how far they had come through small steps. As Lena walked home that evening, she realized something beautiful. Opportunities don't always arrive with loud noise or bright lights. Sometimes they arrive softly, as thoughts, as small invitations, as quiet ideas. And when your mind is calm and your life is organized, you can hear those invitations clearly. Saving money wisely had given her that clarity. She saw her future not as a distant dream, but as something she was actively shaping, piece by piece. She reached home, made herself warm tea, sat by her window, and watched the city lights flicker in the distance. She felt a gentle happiness, a happiness not from big achievements, but from growth. And she whispered to herself, "I see more now. I understand more now. I am ready for more now." Her savings were not just numbers. They were seeds. And opportunities were beginning to grow from them, slowly, beautifully, naturally. Now, as you listen to this part of the story, I want you to imagine yourself seeing new opportunities too. Imagine your mind becoming clearer as you make better decisions. Imagine noticing small chances to learn, grow, and connect. Imagine feeling more open to life because you have created space inside yourself through consistency and care. Opportunities are always around you, waiting quietly. And as Lena continues her journey, she becomes ready for the next part, the part where she begins shaping her future with intention, purpose, and courage. Her world began to feel different, not because her city changed, not because her job changed, and not because something big happened suddenly, but because she changed. When a person changes inside, the world around them begins to look new, brighter, clearer, like a window that was foggy before but now becomes transparent. And one morning, as Lena walked to work with her usual calm steps, she noticed something she had never truly seen before: opportunities. They were small, simple, quiet opportunities, nothing dramatic, nothing loud, but they were there, waiting for her to notice them. She realized that as she saved money slowly and consistently, her mind became more open, her thoughts became clearer, and she began to see choices she never saw before. The first opportunity appeared when she was scrolling through her phone one evening. She saw a short announcement for an online English course she had wanted to take for over a year. In the past, she hesitated because she felt guilty spending money on herself. But now she remembered her small learning fund. She opened it slowly, checked the amount, and felt a warm smile grow across her face. She had enough. She didn't need to feel guilty or afraid or uncertain. She had saved for this exact reason: to learn, to grow, to invest in herself. And with calm confidence, she clicked the enroll button. It was a simple action, but it felt like a quiet celebration of her own growth. She whispered, "I'm doing this for me," and felt proud. Another opportunity came at work. Her company opened a small internal training program for employees who wanted to learn new skills. In the past, Lena would have ignored it, worrying that she might not be good enough or that she wouldn't have time. But now, her mindset was different. Saving money had taught her discipline, patience, and the value of slow progress. So she applied without overthinking. She wrote a simple, honest message explaining why she wanted to learn, and a week later, she received an email saying she had been accepted. When she read the message, she felt a soft warmth move through her chest. She realized that saving money wisely didn't just protect her future, it strengthened her mind, her decisions, her confidence. She was becoming a person who moved toward opportunities instead of avoiding them. As she continued her days, Lena began to see opportunities in unexpected places. One weekend, she visited a local library for the first time in many years. She had passed by it hundreds of times without entering. But now she walked inside and felt quietly amazed by how peaceful it felt. Rows of books, comfortable chairs, the soft sound of turning pages. A whole world of learning waiting for her, free and open. She borrowed a book about personal growth, something simple and inspiring. That night, she read the first chapter slowly, enjoying every sentence. She felt grateful that she didn't need to buy new books to learn. The library was a gentle opportunity she had never noticed before. Another opportunity came when she realized she could walk more often instead of using public transport. It wasn't just about saving money, it was about creating healthier habits. As she walked through her neighborhood, she discovered new cafes, quiet parks, small shops selling handmade items, and corners of the city she had never explored. She felt more connected to her environment, more aware of her surroundings, more alive in her everyday moments. The world felt bigger, not because it changed, but because she was paying more attention. One day at work, Her manager asked her if she'd like to assist in a small project involving organization and planning. It wasn't a promotion, it wasn't a huge responsibility, but it was an opportunity to grow and show her abilities. In the past, she might have said, "I'm not sure," afraid of making mistakes. But now she felt steady inside. She smiled and said, "Yes, I would like to try." Her manager nodded approvingly. Over the next few days, she worked on the project with care and attention, and her manager later thanked her, saying, "You did well." Those words stayed with her, warm and encouraging. She realized that opportunities often come quietly, dressed in small moments of trust, effort, and learning. During one peaceful evening, she took out her notebook again, the same notebook that had become a soft map of her journey. She turned to a clean page and wrote at the top, "Opportunities one see now." She listed the small things she had recently embraced: the English course, the training program at work, the library, the walks, the project, the time she invested in herself. As she looked at the list, she felt amazed by how different her life looked now. Not because she had more money, but because she had more clarity. Saving money didn't limit her life, it expanded it. It helped her see possibilities she couldn't see before because her mind was too busy, her life too rushed, her heart too distracted. Another evening, she talked with Sarah again. They were sitting on the same bench in the park, watching children play and families walk by. Sarah shared how she had also started noticing new opportunities since becoming more mindful with her money. She said she started learning a new hobby, painting, because she finally had time and mental space for it. Lena smiled warmly. They talked about how saving, simplifying, and slowing down opened quiet doors inside their lives, doors they didn't even know were there. They felt proud of their progress, proud of how far they had come through small steps. As Lena walked home that evening, she realized something beautiful. Opportunities don't always arrive with loud noise or bright lights. Sometimes they arrive softly, as thoughts, as small invitations, as quiet ideas. And when your mind is calm and your life is organized, you can hear those invitations clearly. Saving money wisely had given her that clarity. She saw her future not as a distant dream, but as something she was actively shaping, piece by piece. She reached home, made herself warm tea, sat by her window, and watched the city lights flicker in the distance. She felt a gentle happiness, a happiness not from big achievements, but from growth. And she whispered to herself, "I see more now. I understand more now. I am ready for more now." Her savings were not just numbers. They were seeds. And opportunities were beginning to grow from them, slowly, beautifully, naturally. Now, as you listen to this part of the story, I want you to imagine yourself seeing new opportunities too. Imagine your mind becoming clearer as you make better decisions. Imagine noticing small chances to learn, grow,